Hey, it's Matt and Josh from Cell Comics. News this week. Disney CEO Bob Iger believes Marvel Studios' Disney Plus TV shows have diluted focus and intention.
No.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that, whether we agree or disagree. But first, let's read what he has to say.
Okay.
Since the Infinity Saga ended, there's been an undeniable decline in the quality of Marvel Studios' output. While the MCU remains a long way off the dire straits the DCEU has found itself in, the franchise is no longer critic-proof and has even delivered some commercial disappointments. Many fans have blamed a sudden increase in releases, with a seemingly endless stream of Disney Plus TV shows creating a quantity over quality approach to storytelling. Yesterday evening, the news broke that Disney's CEO Bob Iger has extended his contract and will remain in that role until 2026. It's news that which has been welcomed by Wall Street at a time the company is facing decline in theme park attendance and some noteworthy box office flops. Despite being billed as a vital chapter in the multiverse saga, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, for example, failed to even reach 500 million worldwide and found itself skewered by critics. Now Iger has chimed in on on that and where he believes Marvel Studios has gone wrong. There have been some disappointments. We would have liked some of our more recent releases to perform better. It's reflective not as a problem from a personnel perspective, but I think in our that's a typo, in our zeal to basically grow our content significantly to serve mostly our streaming offerings, we have ended up taxing our people way beyond in terms of their time, their focus, way beyond where they had been. Marvel's a great example of that. They had not been in the TV business at any significant level. Seems to me he's forgetting some things. Not only did they increase their movie output, but they ended up making a number of television series, and frankly, it diluted focus and attention. That is, I think, more of the cause than anything. As great as it's been to get so much MCU content, it's true that the sheer number of stories being told has made the movies feel less special and perhaps led to a decrease in excitement and ticket sales. Reading between the lines, it seems likely now the plan is for Marvel Studios to drastically reduce its Disney Plus offerings, while we're likely to still maybe get a couple of TV shows every year, which we're getting now anyways. It's like 2 a year.
Yep.
Many of the quite frankly unnecessary projects once rumored to be on the way are probably being scrapped. That no doubt includes everything from a Black Panther spin-off to a Wong TV series. After all, as fun as they have been, do we really need them?
Just top-notch writing in this article, eh?
Yeah, I feel like it could have used some spell check.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Okay, well, you go first.
I mean, unfortunately, regarding this issue, I would have to agree with Bob. Well, in accordance to the quality that started with Disney Plus, which was great. Quality was great. Like WandaVision that's where it should have been. That's where it should have stayed. And it didn't. And I feel they did.
So the first three was WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki, right? Those were the first three?
Yeah. I think it was WandaVision, Loki, then Captain.
Okay, but those were the first three.
Doesn't matter. Sorry. Yes, I believe they were the first three. I mean, obviously, I think we can both agree that Captain America: Winter Soldier was, the lesser of the
Falcon
three.
And the Winter Soldier, not.
Sorry, Falcon. Sorry.
Hey, if you confuse those two, one's a fantastic fucking movie, top 5 of the MCU, and the other one's a TV show.
Right. Both Captain and America. Anyway. Anyway, I would agree that I think we can both agree that Falcon was lesser of the two, and that Loki was
lesser of the three.
Sorry, lesser of the three, and was pretty well put together. Like, even though it was like wacky and out there and like whatever, for the most part, there was only like 2 times where I was like, "Oh, these guys are standing on a soundstage."
Loki,
like, just
you mean?
There. Yeah. Sorry, Loki. Yeah, they're standing there. But it's like for WandaVision. You had that wacky stuff inside the bubble, then you were outside, you saw normality, which was so dope. And then the way that they did everything, I just,
So he seems to forget, I guess, that Netflix had almost 2 shows a year with Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones. Yeah. The Shield went for like 7 seasons. You had Inhumans. Which failed after a season, sure. Yeah. That was more Jeff Loeb's fault than Marvel's.
Very much so.
I
know.
I don't see the problem with 2 shows a year. I don't think that's too much.
I don't think that's too much at all. I
Like,
think that's, if
you can
anything, a nice sweet spot.
Well, maybe throw in a special presentation at Christmas. Like,
Well, they said that they were
I
trying
would
to
be
do
really
that.
bummed if we didn't get like a Werewolf by Night or a Guardians special, like that kind of like 1 hour and 10 minute
Absolutely.
like one off.
Absolutely.
Maybe once, maybe not every year, but once every 2 years,
Yep.
to like see some lesser known characters. They doesn't necessarily tie into the MCU, so you don't need to see it. I understand them doing She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. They want to connect with a wider audience. Hawkeye was fine. I guess they really could have done that. They really could have introduced Kate Bishop somewhere else.
Yep. I would agree.
I mean, we all
But
like Jeremy
I enjoyed-
Renner as Hawkeye. Like,
Yeah, like I mean,
it's
I
fine,
enjoyed their back and forth, but
but it wasn't really necessary to move the
Yeah.
story forward. I feel like
or-
everyone feels that the story has been stuck for so long because the movies haven't really pushed the narrative forward of Kang. Like, we've been talking about Kang being the bad villain for what, 3 or 4 years now, and we've really only got him twice.
Yep.
At the end of Loki season 1 and Quantumania.
Right. Which
But
are
it feels-
basically 2 versions. Like they're not even the
Yeah.
versions.
So
That like, yeah.
I guess we're gonna get more in Loki season 2, but I feel like it's too long of a stretch. Like, they haven't kept their momentum with Quantum, or not with Quantum, but with Kang. Like,
Yeah.
yes, Quantumania had its issues. There was really, Ant-Man should have died at the end to raise the
Yeah.
stakes.
Again, and as we said before, I think they changed that last minute. I think everything was fucking changed last minute. That's why
Yeah.
we had that weird ending at the end. But I kind of enjoyed it because of like, you know, the anxiety, like the panic that like was setting in. You know what I mean? Like I felt like that was cool. It just, the normality of it felt, after going through all that crazy shit, it was just like, oh, now we're sitting in.
But you can also really kind of tell the difference in quality of writing, where
Oh yeah, 100%.
we've had 3 Ant-Man movies, we've had 3 Guardians movies, and you were so invested in Guardians 3 of like maybe Rocket not making it,
Yeah.
and that their stories, that, and you
Absolutely.
you didn't really care about, you kind of wanted Ant-Man to die to make Kang a bigger bad guy, or
Right.
make him more important.
Right.
But you're not really invested in the Ant-Man movies in terms of characters. With Guardians you were, and they both only have ever had 3 movies each. I mean, granted, Guardians was in Endgame and Infinity War a bit more
Right.
than Ant-Man, although Ant-Man was more in Endgame than Guardians were, because they were all mostly dusted. But
Right. I mean, it just kind of goes to show. Well, I mean, James Gunn wrote all 3 Guardians movies, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and directed.
Yeah, and then did they have the same one? Like, did they have at least one writer that was on all the Ant-Man movies?
Scott Derrickson,
Is that
and I think he directed all 3. Scott Derrickson or Peyton Reed, one or the other. Maybe Derrickson did the
it was
first.
Peyton Reed for the first one.
Did he do the other 2? Derrickson might have been Doctor Strange,
Yeah,
the first Doctor Strange.
Sure, but looking now. Yeah, it was same director, but I think the writers
Different writers.
different, which would make a lot of sense.
The Ant-Man movies have always seemed B tier to me, even though Ant-Man
In the best
was
way.
an
though.
Avenger. Like, he should have been top tier, whereas the Guardians were B tier in the comics forever, and now they are top tier. Like, you know, their movies made a ton of money, like 800 million each.
Right. So, Jeff Loveness
Yeah.
did Quantum Mania,
Now, I don't think he did the first 2 though, did he?
but he did not write
Yeah.
the first or second one. And not only that, Paul Rudd helped write the second one.
Well,
I didn't know that.
the second one was better than the third one.
Yeah.
The other thing people complain about is it's too much to watch.
Yeah.
There is a ton of television shows to watch. Good television.
Mm-hmm.
I find I put together a list of the stuff we have to go back and watch because we haven't got around to it yet, and we kind of work through it each month. But Marvel shows and Star Wars shows we usually keep on top of every week. I'm actually kind of glad that they do it episodically each week instead of dumping it all at once.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's better for the show. Like, I think, like, you know what I mean? That excitement of getting a whole show at once and then being like, oh, fuck, I can watch 3 episodes right now? Like, wow. That's over, man. That time is over, except for kids, I feel. Like, unless it's like, that's it.
If it's good, it builds word of mouth. If it's bad,
so much. It gets
then stepping it out each week, the ratings are just going to get lower, right?
Right. But could you imagine the hype around The Last of Us if it was dropped all at the same time? Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. People after episode 3, everybody was hooked. Yeah. And that's all they could talk about. But like if you all released at once, episode 3 would have been like wow, episode 3 was really good. But then remember episode 5, whoa. And that's what the conversation would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Most of these shows haven't really been connected to the movie universe in that there's something that happens in a show that you really need to know before going into the next movie.
Right.
I feel like they've done. I mean, some people are like, "Oh, Wanda's a villain now," but you knew she lost Vision at the end, and you could, without watching WandaVision, you could tell. You could kind of tell she was going to go that way, anyways.
Sure.
So maybe WandaVision was important, but like Loki, so far watching Loki isn't required to see what is in the MCU. Right. She-Hulk certainly hasn't been required. Moon Knight certainly hasn't been required.
Definitely not.
Miss Marvel, sure. Miss Marvel will probably be. Well, you might be missing something if you go to see the Marvels and haven't watched Miss Marvel.
I would agree.
But I feel like if you're a fan of Captain Marvel, you're gonna watch Miss Marvel anyways.
Oh yeah, 100%. How could you not?
Yeah.
Wacky.
Sure, the writing could definitely be better. Quality could be better. Maybe they space it out a bit more.
Yeah.
One show in January that year, and then one show in December at the end of the. I don't know. I guess that wouldn't be. So maybe one show at Christmas, one show at summer. So there's a 6-month gap.
Yeah.
And it's 6 to 8 episodes, and that's it.
Could even make it 10. Fuck. Like you're not. You know what I mean? Like you're not because you're not writing as much.
Yeah, that kind of worries me about Daredevil though. Born Again is it's supposed to be like 22 episodes, and there's I can't imagine that's all
no
one
way.
season.
there's no way. If it was 22, if they because I remember, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they said it was 26 episodes.
Oh, 26.
And if you split that in half, that's 13 episodes per season. So I would say
what it used to be
would be okay.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna put 20 episodes in one season, like this isn't the WB, this isn't CW.
Yeah.
We can't do that no more.
And Star Wars is a whole other thing. Andor was fantastic. One of the top shows ever. I'm surprised Obi-Wan actually got nominated for an Emmy, given how uneven that show was. There were great moments to it, and there were kind of like, cringy moments.
That show was the definition of peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. Like, it was so many times where you're like, ooh, and then you're like, oh, what the fuck just happened there?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the actress who played Reva's performance, and I'm not entirely sure that was the actress' fault or the director's fault or the writing. Like, something didn't gel there well.
Yeah, it was. I would say that it was a combination.
Or how she was told to play it. I don't know.
Yeah,
sometimes she was fine, and other times it wasn't great.
Again, peaks and valleys, man.
Yeah.
It was just that quality didn't stay right, and then as soon as you start to lose people, that's it. And I watched. It's funny because I actually watched a lot of. In the last little bit, I watched a lot of people talking about Disney Plus and like whatever.
Yeah.
And they mentioned obviously, Star Wars, the Star Wars media and whatever, and they were like, everybody knows who Obi-Wan is. Everybody knows who Hugh McGregor is.
Yeah.
They didn't even have to do PR. Like they would never even had to do PR for the show.
Yeah.
They could have invested all of their energy into making it amazing, and they could have just fucking released it.
Yeah.
And it would have been more of a talk of the town than anything.
Yeah.
And instead of that, they kind of wish-washied like, a bunch of really important scenes that people were waiting for. You know what I mean? Like Obi-Wan running away from Vader. They're just running away from each other. What the fuck?
I understand that part. He cut himself off from the Force, and he's not.
Right, but at the same time, it was like, I mean, don't quote me, but I feel like there's a few better ways to kind of do those situations. What do I know, man? Just a guy.
Well, we can be writers now. The writers are on strike, so we can start writing for them.
That's true. Could be a dirty scab.
But I understand. I understand his point for Star Wars in that there hasn't been a Star Wars movie for what, 4 years now?
Yeah,
2019 was Rise of Skywalker. 2018.
I thought Rise of Skywalker was shit.
I think more people are more interested in a Star Wars movie than a Star Wars TV show. Absolutely. I understand that would make a lot more money. Was it 2017?
No, sorry, 2019. It's 2019. Been 4 years. That's crazy, dude.
But I still want like one Star Wars show at least a year, whether it's Ahsoka or Mando. Like as long as Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, or if they find someone else who's just as insanely a huge fan and competent as those two have been. Yes, there are some problems with Mando season 3. Mando season 2 was had some really great episodes. We'll see what it's like down the line with Mando season 4, whether it becomes now a Bo-Katan show, which the rumor is, and less Din Djarin, which I'm fine with. I'm happy to see more Bo-Katan.
Absolutely fine with. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And they don't need to make another show.
Just another show. Yeah, it's The Mandalorian, so you can put other Mandalorians in The Mandalorian show and have it be centered around them.
Yeah.
All leading
Change
to
it to The Mandalorians. I don't know. Put an S on the end.
All leading eventually to this movie of the resolve of all of these storylines,
right?
Which looks like it's going to be also Ahsoka's included in that with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Yeah, build it like that, and it seems like Marvel's not building their MCU with the TV shows; they're just filling in gaps. Whereas Star Wars, at least Filoni and Favreau are trying to, if they were given the reins to the movies, they would use the shows to build towards instead of filling in gaps. So you would be excited to see the next movie coming out because of something that happened, something big that happened at the end of Mando season 4 or whatever, right? Which Filoni's movie will be about, but that's 6-7 years off.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, both strategies of Feige's been in charge of the MCU and the Marvel TV series shows has gotten worse, overseeing it, at least the quality. Maybe that's because he's stretched too thin. But then the other model of two people running the shows and one person running the movies haven't gone anywhere in years.
Yeah.
So what's the fix for that? Iger's gonna give them both a budget and say you have to stick to it. Plus, what else do you watch on Disney Plus? Like, the only other things we really watch on Disney Plus is stuff from FX and Hulu that shows up in Canada here because we can't subscribe to Hulu here. Yep. So in America, I don't know what people are subscribing to Disney Plus for unless it's for Star Wars and Marvel shows and I guess kids cartoons.
Yeah. And you got to think like a good chunk of that is kid cartoons, but I don't know off the top of my head what American Disney Plus has versus, other than a few random shows. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing detrimental that would cause them to get it over something else. I feel.
Yeah, and Disney's been talking about selling Hulu. So, what avenue do they have left to make a show like a Sopranos or a Sons of Anarchy or something like a Big Flag or a Better Call Saul or a Breaking Bad? Like, it's not going to be Disney presents whatever mob show.
Right.
It's
Right.
so that stuff goes to be made by Hulu. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so if you have any comments
Interesting.
about what we talked about, for sure, let us know in the comments.